I basically had to stop using loops sent to me by people I don't know. It's too much of a risk at this point. Please don't send me loops if you can't even reply with your terms. And he got upset. What are you talking about terms? I'm like, why are you in the music business if you don't know what I'm talking about? And finally he goes, look, I'm not discussing my terms. We haven't even gotten a placement yet. When we get a placement, we'll discuss terms. Peace, what's going down? It is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast powered by BeatStars. We're live twice a week on beatstars.live. That is the website, beatstars.live, Mondays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. How's everyone feeling this morning?
Tired, but good, man. It's been a busy past couple weeks.
Yeah,
But
for you.
feeling good, though. Feeling good. A lot of highs and lows, but riding the waves.
I want to get things started on a lighter note. My favorite producer is advertising on my page again. And this ad is absolutely hilarious.
You got to reach out and get him on this podcast, man. We got to talk to this cat. We got to talk to him directly and see if he'll talk to us.
It's unlikely. This is probably my favorite one so far. So you can get these kind of studio startup packages nowadays for a really reasonable price. You know, like damn near everyone uses the Scarlett. Pretty much every studio has a pair of rockets in it, the KRKs. And you can get all of this for under $800, which is kind of amazing nowadays to think about how expensive studio gear used to be. And you can, you know, minus the computer, you can start your entire studio for relatively cheap. Now, here's the hilarious part. It's the greatest ad ever.
This is $5,000 worth of recording equipment.
Of all the lies he's told in his ads, stuff like type beats will get you sued. I feel like he can argue that. You know, he can create some magical scenario and say, well, what if this could happen and this and that, or what if all these things combine to create a lawsuit? Like, okay, it's never happened. It's not going to happen, but you could probably do some kind of mental gymnastics and justify your own deception. You can't justify calling something that's being sold for $796 online $5,000 worth of gear. There's just no way. I don't get it, so I think it's funny. That's my new policy.
To me, this is actually probably, in my opinion, like the least egregious thing that you've shared from him, to be honest. But
Really?
it's one of those things, like it's like pointless to lie about. Like you don't even like. And to me, if somebody lies about something small that doesn't even really matter, like you really got to stay away from them, because they'll lie. If they have that level of comfort lying about the smallest of things, then they can probably lie about something bigger. So it's a red flag. Because that's stupid. I mean, it doesn't even add that much flair to his promotion.
No.
You know, but because especially these sales funnel people do it all the time. Like, especially when you value like your own services. You're like, I normally sell this for $20,000, but today I'm giving it to you for $9.99. But you have to act within 15 seconds because this deal is going to go away forever if you don't. Like that, it's like the similar thing. You know, when nobody's ever paid you $20,000 to do anything. But yeah, the guy. I mean, guy's a weirdo to me. I mean, all the stuff that you've shown. You know, just during these podcast sessions. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it finds me. You know, I go to my YouTube video to see how my videos are ranking, just to check the vidIQ panel, and there it is, something new every month. It seems like it's something new. He's also selling playlist contacts, so that's definitely legitimate.
Playlist contacts?
Yeah, we're back in like 2001.
I think maybe he's targeting. I think maybe he's trolling you, Payne. I think because we've mentioned him several times now. I think he's actually using your page like specifically. So let me show up on Payne's page some more.
It's an expensive troll.
So I don't know. All right, so we definitely have a few other topics to address today. Let's touch them quick. If there's not much to say about them, we'll keep it moving. But we recently saw that United Masters and Coinbase have developed a partnership to be able to pay their artists in crypto on the United Masters platform. First reactions. How do we feel about that, Erinn?
I think it's cool to add features. I think anybody who's doing anything in the crypto or NFT space is just kind of first to market. So on paper, I think it's like really smart. I think it's a really cool thing to like be in the media again as the first distributor to do it. But on like in real life, I feel like it's going to have no effect whatsoever. I think that artists making enough to invest in crypto will take their cash and then put whatever they want into crypto. And then I think that people who don't make a ton may choose the option, but if you're already only making $50 or $60 a month, if that, a lot of times people want to see their like tangible cash. So I think the conversion rate is going to be super low, but I think it's super dope to do it. I think it's a nice feature to offer, but I don't know. I don't see the point of it right now, but I think it is leading to the future of how music is going to go.
Right. Pan, you got any first impressions from it?
I agree with Erinn. I am waiting for some kind of crypto equivalent to PayPal, though. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I'm always pretty skeptical of what United Masters does. So I want to see what's in it for them. Like, is it just the story that's creating some hoopla to drive more people to the platform, or what are the fees involved? Like, what are the fees involved? And like Erinn said, like, I'm in the camp of like, if you want crypto, why not just take your cash and buy crypto? For the people that are not in the crypto space and that are buying different coins outside of Bitcoin or Ethereum, actually including those, like, it's a very volatile space right now. Now, I'm not saying that it's not going to be the future. I think that it will be. But if you are going to be in crypto, just know that it's fairly volatile. You know, your shit can go up and down 10%, 15, 20% in a day. So if it's cash that you need right now, you just want to understand what you're doing before you get into it, because there's a lot of volatility in the space. So I think that it's great. I like to see that distribution companies are innovating, adding new services. I'm all with that. I just want to see how it plays out, and I want to see the fees that are involved with this, because there probably are some. So we'll see.
There are definitely fees, because you go to the bank. When I used to tour a lot before the pandemic, and I'd exchange foreign currency at my bank, it was the conversion rate was so high I had to go to someone else's bank. And cryptocurrency gives an opportunity for all these different entities to play intermediary and convert this money. So I guess I know Cash App does this with Bitcoin, and their conversion rates aren't super unreasonable. I just wonder how a distribution company would do that, because they're not a financial service. And so I'm curious. I'm not going to say that I'm assuming anything about it, but so I'm wary of it.
So I would warn artists of two things. Like, one, just like the straight up fees to do this, right? Like, I don't know. But with crypto, one of the benefits is fees are supposed to be minimal, like on transactions. So they're supposed to be minimal. But I would also look at the price that you're getting, right? Because the price of Bitcoin is not the same on every platform at the same time, right? So we have to look at not only the fees that are baked in, but what is the price of these different cryptocurrencies at the time that you are receiving your payout. You know, it could be that Bitcoin is higher or cheaper at that time. So you have to look at that. So I would just encourage everybody to getting into crypto to really do your research. That's what it really is at the end of the day. Really do your research before you choose us as an option. And if you need money right now, you probably just want your money. And if you wanted to invest in crypto, then take your money and do that. But I think overall, I think it's cool. Payne, you had another topic that you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I had an unfortunate exchange. I mean, I basically had to stop using loops sent to me by people I don't know. It's too much of a risk at this point. And I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's just unavoidable now in the producer community. I mean, if you're a producer and somebody has your email, you're getting loops from people you don't know sent to you.
Can you just, in case somebody picks this podcast up that's not even familiar with what a loop is, can you just explain that really quick?
We'll just call it a sample created by somebody, but even that term is problematic. So if I'm making, basically when you send loops to another producer, you're basically asking them not only to make a great beat out of what you send them, but you're also expecting them to send the beat out, get it placed with a major artist on a major label, or at very least sell it to their customers online through, a leasing scenario like BeatStars. And so that's what a lot of, I think most producers' complaints center around. It's like people trying to, find it's like with producers who are just coming up. It's like they want to get beats to Drake. They want to get beats to Polo G. They want to get beats to all the top artists rather than, building their way up. And with loop makers nowadays, people that are either making very simple, basic loops or, really complex compositions, they want to do the same on the producer level. They want to get their loops to the producers who have the plaques because they think, if I get loops to this person, they're going to get me the placement with the big artists. And so that's a lot to ask of somebody, especially somebody that you don't know. It's a lot to ask of somebody, period. And so my question is, why not approach that kind of situation with more humility and flexibility? It seems like common sense. If I'm asking you for something, then I'm the one that needs to be flexible. I'm not going to be the one with all the leverage in that situation. And people flood me with loops all the time. I don't ask for them. Some of them are dope. I mean, I can't snap my fingers and get the beats on the Lil TJ album. I wish I could, but I think a lot of people see my credits in my bio and they're like, let me get loops to him and I'm going to get a placement, just like he has. And it's like, no, it's actually really difficult. And I would rather work with people that I know if I'm going to collaborate with someone on these. Recently I had one loop maker send me a bunch of loops and I replied, and they were good. And I replied, what are your terms? Never replied, but kept sending loops. So finally I'm just like, yo, please don't send me loops if you can't even reply with your terms. And he got upset. What are you talking about terms? I'm like, why are you in the music business if you don't know what I'm talking about? And finally he goes, look, I'm not discussing my terms. We haven't even gotten a placement yet. When we get a placement, we'll discuss terms. Talking about splits up front is smart because people will switch up. And I know that's what you're thinking, Erinn. Because if I say, hey, I got this little independent placement, they might want 20%. But if I say, hey, I got this big placement with Drake, they might want 50% and half the advance or worse. Like if I sell a beat to a rapper and they ask me what the split is, and I say, I don't know, we'll see how the song does, that's unprofessional, number one, and sneaky, number two, because I can just switch up any way I want and really mess things up. The worst case scenario to me would be that the loop maker wants the label to clear the sample through them. So they won't even treat it as a collab with me. They'll treat it as me having sampled them, which isn't the case because they sent me the damn loop. And so what could happen is they're holding sample clearance over my head, and they could either kill the placement entirely by asking for too much, or they could charge the label some insane sample clearance fee that then the label recoups against my royalties. So I'm in a worse position because now I'm out, $10,000, $5,000, whatever fee they ask, because they have suddenly all this leverage now because we didn't discuss things and they just pulled that out of thin air when they saw that things were going well. So why would I put myself in that position? And that's why I say come with flexibility and humility, because I've gotten some other things with these loops, some other terms that I haven't really liked. For example, a producer will send me loops and say, these are for major placement only, no beat leasing. And they're basically saying, go out and get me a big opportunity with a major label artist. Otherwise, you can't make a cent off of the work you put in. And it's like, my samples have ended up on major selling albums, but I'm not going to stop people from using them for beat leasing if that's how they make their living. That's asinine. And I'm not going to tell you how to make your money if I'm the one trying to make money off of you. And
it sounds like this person doesn't understand that beat leasing is making a lot of money for many producers, and you might be able to make more money through the beat leasing on BeatStars than maybe a major placement. So it's just
it's an ego thing combined with misperception. And I'll end on this. There are so many producers doing this, sending out loops and samples. I'm one of them. And if there are so many people doing the same thing you're doing or you're trying to do, you have to stand out at least a little. And honestly, one way to stand out is by communicating well and doing good business. And that goes for anything, but I'd say it's more important than ever in the music business, where splits and intellectual property are the foundation of what we do. So if that conversation isn't being had, good luck. I don't think it's going to go well.
It sounds like this dude doesn't know what he's doing, though. Like saying, what do you mean by terms? And then being like, oh, we're going to discuss them after. Like, if you don't know, and this is something that I think a lot of people feel like shame about, but if you don't know, ask the person who's asking you. If they're rude about it, then you're like, cool, I probably don't want to work with you anyways. But like, I legitimately will have people reach out to me and be like, hey, we need this, this, and this. And I'll be like, can you explain to me what that is? Like, I'll Google it, but if I still don't understand something, I'm going to ask them, like there's no shame in asking, like you don't know what you don't know. I'm 10 years into the music industry and every single day I'm learning new stuff. So I feel like if you don't know what the term, like what is terms? Oh, they mean splits. Okay. Hey, I'm new to this. I'm trying to get on. You're an advanced producer. You've been in the game. What would you recommend? Right. Then from what you say, not knowing if you're an honest person, I would then go, compare to Google, talk to any other producers that I know, like that's like a reasonable way to do something. Like if people ask me, I'm like, well, this is how this goes. And typically I do this, but I would want this, and you could even like, I just don't understand why people feel like my ignorance should be backed up by being like strong arming the situation. Cause then you just look rude and dumb. Like your assumption right now is that he's trying to take advantage and he probably just doesn't know what he's doing, So now you don't even want to work with this dude. I think asking questions is fundamental to winning in this game. Like it's okay if you don't know something.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes we're requesting common sense and humility from people in an environment that, you would hope that this is instead of letting it hurt your ego or flaring up and having an aggressive response, you could just ask a question. Like there's no problem with asking a question. Most of the people that are emailing paying out of the blue are probably green. I would say that, Payne, correct me if I'm wrong, but a majority of the inquiries that you get are from producers that are more green or people that are less experienced than you, correct?
Yeah, probably. And I think that's a good thing for a lot of reasons. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, just in general, always want to talk about terms as soon as you can. There was another young man I spoke to yesterday who has a label. And his label and the people that he's working with are kind of on a handshake agreement, kind of like, hey, let's put in the work now. Everybody's going to win in the end. But everybody has different expectations as you start to work. And as if money starts coming in, what a person thought they were going to get based off a handshake agreement may not line up with what you're actually going to offer them. So I always encourage people to really know the terms up front. And as things start to develop, you guys can continue to communicate. And if those terms need to change, that's fine if everybody's in agreement. But you definitely want to understand the terms before a beat gets placed or a label starts doing well, because it's going to be a disaster if you don't have that transparency and communication up front.
This is an example of the first time I ever got burned bad on a beat, right? Like, young manager, I send the splits to the producer, right? This is, I think, 2017, 2018. So I'm fresh into hip hop, right? I came from rock music. We do split sheets in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Like, this who played this instrument, whatever. So with hip hop, I started sending out split sheets and people were like, oh, these never come. And I'm like, well, I don't come from this world. That's what we're going to do. I send it. No response. Send it again. No response. I find out that he has a publishing admin. So I send it to the publishing admin and she responds like, hey, I'll get to this. Thank you for sending. So I'm like, great. 2020 hits. We get signed to Def Jam. The song is the song that they want to, we get signed to a singles deal first for this one particular song because it's performing really well. But they want to use it for the Jets, whatever. So, of course, they reach out to the publishing admin like, hey, we just want to approve the splits that Erinn has. And I had the dates, you know what I'm saying? I have the dates that it was sent. They never approved it. So it's still, but it's what we had put in. So, of course, the admin is smart, thank goodness, and didn't reach back out to the label first, but reached out to me. They wanted 30% more of the song. I was hot. I was hot, 2.5 years later, but they had never agreed to it. And so I called my mentor. I was like, yo, what should I do about this? And he was like, unfortunately, because it's just a singles deal, this could kill the deal. And I'm like, but I have proof of the original beat. I have where my artist produced it himself. I have what it sounded like after. Dude legitimately only did 20% of the beat, but he wanted a full 50%. And I'm like, yo, my artist produced this song with you. I know where it started. And it was a little bit of back and forth. We were originally giving mechanicals on this song too. And she didn't know that because we give mechanicals to all of our producers because they produce for free, at least up until then. So I took away all the mechanicals, gave him the percentage. And every time I had to sign off on the checks that were sent to him that year, I was sick. But we've never worked with that producer again. So I would say, even if you have good intentions, make sure that your paperwork is right, because the coolest people, the homies, whatever, when money comes into play, they become shiesty. So I'm with y'all. Always get the deal points up front. If you don't know what you're doing, ask a question, Google it, DM somebody, something. Just don't let people take advantage of of you, but don't take advantage of other people.
Yeah. People will flip, man. People will flip. People in this industry can get very emotional. There's a lot of ego. So even what you thought was an agreement, if it's not in writing and signed off, people can just flip and decide to be assholes. And it sucks because obviously that's not the proper way to do long-term business. I really admire Payne in the way he does business because he understands the long-term value of relationships. So even if there's a percentage here that obviously Payne doesn't let people take advantage of him, but if it's a percentage here or there, why cause a dust up? You know what I'm saying? And to a point where you're gonna sever that relationship and never work with that person again. So Erinn just said, I don't know if that person cares if they're never working with you again, but there's no reason for that. There's no reason to create that reputation for yourself. So just always do good business.
Yeah, I think another thing that comes with that mentality is this fear that this will be the last opportunity. Because if you believe that this is good music and that whatever opportunity is coming is one of many because of your faith in the project and in your contribution to the project, then you're more willing to be flexible. If you're afraid and you think, okay, I got to squeeze every cent out of this situation, you're operating from a place of fear and fear of scarcity of opportunity moving forward. And that means that you're going to make other kinds of moves out of fear.
But that creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly.
Like you're creating what you're afraid of, right? Because if you do bad business, that might be your last placement ever. So, hopefully people have good mentors. We need like stronger mentors in the music community. Hopefully people, I mean, obviously we're not people's mentor, but this is a platform where you get experienced people to come on and have these conversations. So it really just comes down to education and communication.
Can I ask a question about that right now? What
Yeah.
do you think about like organized mentorship? Because I've had a lot of people, I'd say in the last year, especially managers, be like, do you mentor? And I'm like, no, because not that I'm opposed to it, but that a lot of times people don't understand like respect and what a mentorship means. So they just kind of feel like you're their pocket dictionary, or they're like pocket Google, where they're like, hey, can you tell me about this? Hey, can you tell me about this? And it's like, there's no respect. But what do you think about? I feel like there's not I won't say there's no, because I'm mentored through A2IM. They have a formal mentorship. And I have a mentor in Nashville. She's phenomenal. But what do you think about like formal mentorship programs? Do you feel like that's something that needs to be more widespread in the music industry? Like, what do you feel about those?
That you would pay for, or just mentorship programs that exist and you maybe
Well,
have?
I'd say both, and like paying for access to people. Because I remember when I was a young manager, I paid for like some Ryan Leslie sessions, waste of my money, horrible waste of my money. But yeah, that's what I learned. But I do feel like for instance, Key. I don't know if you guys know Key. She's with since the 80s, but she used to manage 21 Savage. Now they have the label. I've paid for like mentorship calls and stuff with her because she's like right in my lane. She's a woman in Atlanta. She has a management background and then started a label. So like, what do y'all feel about like more like? Because I'm thinking like, what would it look like if I started like a mentorship type situation where it's a group of people. So it's not solely on me, but now you have a community of people where you're able to ask questions, but then you have somebody that's a little bit higher up that can maybe help you navigate some of the more high level deals. Like, what are your thoughts on those?
I'm all for it. I mean, anyway, I'm all for education and getting access to good information. So obviously that's why we have this platform. I'm familiar with the hard drive community that Mickey Shiloh's doing. That seems to be, a really dope community, kind of like mentorship because they have a lot of question and answer sessions. But I think we need more of it. I think we need more artists to believe in the power of education, to want to seek it, to understand the importance of, getting that education. So there's probably a number of ways to structure it, whether it's paid or unpaid. Like, I think that there's room for more, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with somebody even knowing that they need to seek out mentorship and in a specific way, because I'm sure in the same way that I'm getting contacted asking people if I can mentor them, you're getting contacted in the same way where it's not really specific. I feel like if it's super specific, that's a consultation. If it's specific and long-term, that's a mentorship situation. If it's non-specific, that's a Google situation. So, how do we, I know we do consultation, and I feel like MEC is a mentorship program that does its best to interact with as most artists as possible and creatives and music professionals as possible. And the one-on-one stuff is usually a consultation, because I think most of the questions I get can be answered through one or more consultations, where it's like, if your current mentorship question, your burning mentorship question is, I don't know how to register songs with a PRO. Oh well, we can do that in a session. We can do a consultation. But if it's, I need check-ins all the time, then that's a bigger time commitment, and obviously it has to be the right fit. And whether it's a mentorship program based on faith and mutual respect, or it's one that's based on a professional agreement that maybe involves some kind of fee. It just has to make sense. And a lot of mentorship, I think a lot of people are misusing the term or misunderstanding what mentorship is and maybe should be in a way that serves them and is respectful to the mentor. And I think that's probably a reason why a lot of folks in positions of experience and wisdom aren't necessarily doing it or offering anything like it.
And so we used to do a monthly artist management roundtable where I would get like managers on Zoom, and we would just talk about different things, share best practices and things like that. I don't think I ever told you about it, but I stopped it just because I've got other stuff to do. It wasn't a paid thing. People can join for free, but I was thinking about continuing that and just allowing people to donate if they felt it was worth their time. But people tapped in. But that was strictly for artist managers, but I would let artists attend because I think it's important that they hear like some of the pain points and what managers actually do. So maybe that's something that we can talk about in the future, maybe picking back up, but I know you have your own ideas for things you want to do. So it may fit, may not sure. Erinn, did we get to your?
Maybe that's on the MEC tour.
Yeah. No, we have to figure out the MEC tour. We will be going back on tour. Just not sure when, and just not sure what the format is going to be. So we're definitely going to bring great conversation, great topics, great guests. But we're just trying to make it more fun this time around. So stay tuned for that. Erinn, I don't know if we didn't get to your topic today. What did you have something? We can kick.
I just wanted to talk about Cash App real quick. I looked it up a little bit. There's not a lot of details, but Cash App is launching a new thing for creators. It's called the Cash App Studios, and they say it's an initiative designed to help independent creatives, including artists, musicians, directors, and designers, fund their projects. So there's not a lot of details online, but apparently it's not like a loan. It's a grant. You don't have to pay the money back. So they find people that they want to support. It's currently invite only. So I was like, oh, this is dope. It's for the indies, but their like hallmark artist is Victoria Monet. So she's,
I'm not even sure.
Collaborated with Ariana Grande, currently the biggest song on TikTok. So I don't know if they're focused quite yet on the indies, but shout out to Cash App for getting into the music space.
Does it call out independent artists? Because this could be a thing where, you have this artist. I'm not familiar with it, but it seems like you guys are. You need this artist to draw more people to it, right? So does it say independent artists or just artists?
It just says artists. And they're also supporting, like, they have 2 painters that they mentioned on here in Austin. So I think they're trying to get into all forms of art right now.
Yeah, this kind of relates to the other topic that I had that I was just going to punt to next week, but it was a company called Join Republic that is another way for artists to get funding, but essentially you're giving your fans an opportunity to buy pieces of ownership of a song, and they would then get royalties from that song as the song does well. And this is just my opinion, but I feel like these things get blown up all the time because people will go, oh, this is going to be the thing that replaces labels. It's like, for people, again, just my opinion, but I don't think funding different funding sources is ever going to replace labels. If you're saying that having different options to get money is going to replace labels, in my opinion, you don't really understand what major labels do and how entrenched they are, right? They're buying up different platforms, they're investing in platforms, their relationships are crazy, they're global. Like, it's hard to replace what a major label does just by giving an artist a different funding option that may or may not work, right? Because to me, even this Join Republic situation, to me, that's more of like a marketing thing for your fans, like a way to get your fans excited. Like, your fans aren't really going to make a ton of money from this. I mean, it's possible that you might hit a home run here and there, but it's more so just to participate in the experience, because your artist is going to get to a certain point. Even if you did make money off one, they're not going to keep doing that. If they're making a shitload of money from their music, they're going to start releasing their music on their own. So you might get there's a very small chance that you get a good return on your money. But, as that artist progresses, unless that's part of their brand to just invite their fans in and have their fans be owners of the music, like, why would that artist continue to give away ownership of their music if they're making so much money from it? So it's fun, but it's not going to replace labels. Having different ways to fund artists is not going to replace labels. In my opinion, labels do way too much. They're entrenched and they have crazy relationships globally with Spotify, with different platforms. And that's my rant for the day.
I have a ton of questions about how that works. We can talk about it next time. But yeah, mention it or maybe I'll just do the research because I
probably don't have the answers for you. I probably have to do more research too. I mean, I think it's interesting. And again, I think it's a fun way to engage your fans, get them excited. And it's probably more effective as a marketing thing that it is, beneficial financially. But
I feel like it's just like the new wave of Kickstarter or like GoFundMe. There used to be, I can't remember the platform back in the day. It wasn't Indiegogo, but it was like a platform specifically for music artists. And you could people could pre-buy your album and then you would send out the CD. I don't know if y'all remember it. So this feels like more of a progression of that than it does a replacement for the music industry. I just think a lot of these new companies need to consult with actual music professionals before they get their phrasing together. Because it's like, you're trying to deliver a solution for a problem we don't actually have, you want to attract people who are making money on music, not a bunch of ignorant, smaller artists, because then you have a better product market fit, So I don't know
I think they might not though, honestly. I think they might, that might be the exact target that they're going for, an artist that doesn't know much.
But I feel like then you're making the $49.99 sign up fee versus a percentage. Like if you were to come to one of my artists like this and we were like, hey, we're going to crowdfund an album, your fans are going to own a portion of your masters, I'd probably set aside 15 to 20% of the master at most. And then that's what we'd give to the fans in a bunch of perks. But on something like that, one of my artists could probably make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 if we do a successful run versus somebody who's paying $49.99 and they may crowdfund $1,000. I don't know. I feel like there's better options. I want these companies to start reaching out to me to consult. Go ahead and call me because y'all don't make sense to most people, in my opinion.
But what sucks is a lot of these companies will reach out to influential music people and offer them money. So these influential music people actually co-sign the shit and make it seem like it's the greatest thing ever to the artist. That's what they may not have music people working on the inside, which they definitely need, but they'll have a music industry person retweet it or co-sign it. And people are always looking for money. So, and they may not even understand the ins and outs of the company. They're just like, all right, they're sending me 10,000 to co-sign. I mean, there's music industry professionals that know what they're doing that are basically just, giving these platforms credibility before we even know what the real impact of it is. And it sucks. But just going back to what Joint Republic does, I think so Start Engine is something where you start a company, you can get people to have ownership in your company. And typically what these owners do is they inflate the value of their company. An average, somebody that's just trying to invest as a friend or just trying to support. There's one cat I know, his company was on there and he said the value of his company was like 20 million or something like that. It's not, but people that are just trying to support don't know that. So maybe artists will do the same thing with their music, just overvalue their music and as a way to raise more money. But if there are people on there that are really trying to be investors and get a return on their money, they're going to realize very quickly that it's very difficult to get a return on music from artists that are just kind of in their early stages. Like most music is a bad bet. It's a bad bet. That's just what it is. Probably worse than starting a restaurant.
Yeah. But if they get one or two big earners as opposed to 10,000 end users who are paying the $49.99 annual fee or whatever, I'm sure they've run the numbers, and especially if they're not a part of the music business themselves, so they don't love it and they're not actually identifying a problem that's real to us, and they're trying to create a problem and then sell us a solution. They whether it's through ignorance or whether it's through greed, the end result is the same. They end up making a lot of money off the average person, which is a person who doesn't know any better and may quit a year or two from now, but at least they've squeezed that fee from them. Maybe I'm being cynical. Sorry that we're ending on that note. Maybe we can pick the conversation up next episode. One more time, appreciate you tuning in. It's Music Entrepreneur Club podcast, our free music business mentorship session program, I should say, not session. We have 2 sessions a week, and that goes down every Monday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.beatstars.live. And you can get alerted. We'll send you a text right to your phone every time we go live, so you don't have to miss. You can join right from your phone. You don't need an app or anything. Just text a number to a number, or a word to a number. What's that info, Dame?
All you got to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800. We will send you a text right before we go live. We got a bunch of dope sessions coming up. I just had a young lady that was on from Ball is Life, and she was giving out her contact info. Now, everybody doesn't do that, but I'm sure she got flooded with emails afterwards. But we got some really great sessions coming up. If you're missing these sessions,
stop missing.
I really don't think you're that serious about your career. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, we got $5,000 worth of studio gear, and if you're serious about your craft, text MEC to that number. All right, let me stop. Catch you next time. Appreciate you tuning in. Peace.
Peace.